Just dropping this one on this Bill Cosby thing. New news regarding American megastar Bill Cosby. Now, what happened to him was simples. Before I get into it, what happened to him was simples. He got a bit too big for his boots, and he's got mega money. So simples. To pull him down and rein him in would be a double victory. But hey, let me get into it. Let's get into the story. And let me give my little 10 pence worth as to what I think went down. So, according to the article, BBC, a jury in California has ordered Bill Cosby to pay a whopping £59.2 million in damages to a former waitress after finding he rugged his TikTok, so I can't use the exact word. He rugged and essayed her while taking her to one of his shows almost 5 decades ago. Donna Motzinger said the former star gave her wine and a pill that left her incapacitated after picking her up at home in a limousine in 1972, all those years ago, before I was born, Taras, and before a lot of you were born too. But hey, Cosby, 88 now, has denied Motzinger's allegations, along with similar claims in a string of civil and criminal cases filed by dozens of women. He was freed from prison in 2021 after nearly completing a 3-year sentence for S.A. after his conviction was thrown out on a technicality. Okay, I think that's the case with Andrew Constad. We'll get into that in a moment. The jury basically awarded, the jury in Santa Monica basically awarded £19.2 million for the past and future damages and a further $40 million in punitive damages. Motzinger, now 84, used to work as a waitress at a restaurant in San Francisco, which was a regular spot for celebrities, and alleged that in a lawsuit that invited her to one of his stand-up shows, he picked her up, they drove to the gig in his limousine, gave her a pill which she thought was an aspirin, and from there it claims she lost consciousness, and then she woke up at home naked but aside from her underwear, and she knew that she'd been drugged and hard by Bill Cosby. Now, let me get into this. Let's go into this quickly. Yeah. A lot of this has to do with age as well, because he's 88, and obviously, when they put it on this guy, in terms of paying out this aspect of the case, he's 88. Obviously, he may not remember certain things, and not just that, but there are certain blurred lines which they're going to exploit. Okay, so let's say I meet a girl, yeah, and she's a freak. She says, yeah, I don't know. So these things aren't my scene, okay? But she says, I don't know, weed, yeah. I say, okay, cool. So if I go and phone someone to get weed, bring her to my spot, she has weed, and then something transpires, she can come back 40 years later and say, yeah, well, tapped, pulled me around, drugged me up, and then we did something. No, that's R, yeah. She can exploit those grey areas, yeah, to suit her debate, yeah. And technically, she smoked weed and things happened afterwards, obviously consensual, but there's ways to blur lines, especially with someone like Bill Cosby, who's had many misdemeanors and has used things like quaaludes and things like that, his own ambition, when he's having fun with women that actually consent. But obviously, when their mind is not as young as it once was, then people could feel they have a right to exploit that and, work those blurred lines. Okay? As I previously said, money. You know, a lot of this is about money. Yeah, big money. So obviously they've gone in big, and that's a big payout. Don't forget all the previous cases that he's paid out for. So again, this is hitting him. You know, and you know his children will probably have a very short, small. Well, I assume a very small sum of that left because they're not showing his shows anymore. You know, he's being tarnished. The Cosby Show. No, they've done a number on that. Okay, so yeah, it is what it is. I mean, let's go back to the original cases. Yeah, I remember following this at the time, and it was the case with Andrea Constad where he actually was sentenced. Yeah, so they had like 5 or 6 cases, whatever it was, and that was the case where he actually went down for. Okay, but even there, blurred lines because she was a quote druggie. Okay, so obviously, if she's a druggie, say she likes acid, he gets her acid, and then they're at their minds, and then things are gone. Yeah, she could actually argue she was not culpable and fully conscious at the time they were doing things, although she's obviously consented up front. Yeah, you know, again, she's worked the angle, you know, and you know, they've done things when she's out of her mind, but she's upfront, consented to that up front. On the offhand, that's going to be the consequence of what occurs. So you know, and maybe that's what the technicality was. I need to look at that again, that case again. But in this case, again, if he did it, if he met her, used drugs, made her, you know, not be conscious, not be aware of what she's fully doing, and did the act, then boy, he needs to go down for that. You know? In fact, why hasn't he gone down for that? Because if he's done it and he's paying out, is it a thing of a money grab where she's gone for the money and said he's done it, and then see if it's been awarded by a court, the payout, then although it's civil, at the same time it's a crime, isn't it? So shouldn't he be going down for that as well? See, these are things where, you know, they need to be looked at, you know. You know, if it's a money grab, then quite rightly his lawyer should be fighting back. But if it's actually proven to be legal and this was the case, then he should be doing the sentence then, isn't it? Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. But hey, but there's a lot there to look at, you know. Again, you know, and a lot of these wealthy guys, they're not smart like that, you know. The R. Kellys, the Puff Daddies, maybe smart in some business ways, but in other ways of protecting themselves, they're not very smart. Hence why the system can come at these guys and simply, you know, simply get their quote reparations back. What I mean by that? And this was going to be one of my videos before I was unceremoniously pulled off the site many moons ago. Another conversation. They put him up. They put these celebrities up. You know, they give them the limelight. But at the same time, they want something back. This is my theory, you know. And in this case, Cosby's made all these billions, millions and billions. They simply want that money back in the system, where it belongs. In, dare I say it, clear people's hands. But anyway, I digress. That's it, and it's a wrap. For now, is what it is. Bill Cosby, your legacy's been tarnished. Is what it is. Later.